Hi, welcome to tdcat.com. We produce online tutorials in the subject of audio stuff, video stuff, photography, anything tech really. Kind of things that we're interested in, learn about, we'll put into tutorials. Today we're looking at Maschine, Native Instruments Maschine, and more specifically the expansion packs that are available for Maschine. And I suppose more specifically than that, the Crystal Daggers expansion pack. It's an expansion pack that came out a couple of months ago, and I thought it would be a good time to take a look at that expansion pack, particularly as Native Instruments have just announced the release today of another techno expansion pack, which I've taken a listen to actually, but not really interested in that one. But the Crystal Daggers one is brilliant. I mean, it's down to taste, isn't it, basically? But it really is a good expansion pack, some great sounds in there. So here we are in Maschine, and we have the hardware here as well. So we're started up in a standard mode. I'm not going to be using the hardware too much today, but I thought I'd add it here on the video just so that you can see what I am doing with the hardware when I do use it. And it can just sit here in the corner and mind its own business, really. So today we're going to load up. We're going to just be looking at sounds here. So if we go to the group section, we're just looking at sounds from Crystal Daggers. And as soon as you go into there, you have your kits listed out. So that's, usually these expansion packs contain sort of anything between maybe 30 and 60 kits. And within each kit is 16 sounds, which fit one group basically on the hardware. And they also contain a lot of additional presets for either reactor or massive. So there's quite a lot of stuff that you get with the expansion packs. They cost £44, 44 UK pounds. I'm not sure how much that is in dollars. And whether or not you think that's worth it or not depends on your approach to this kind of thing. And I'm kind of torn two ways on this. I have a kind of side of me that says the work's already done for you, so that kind of stifles your creativity because you never think you can make your stuff as good as that when you hear how well they do it in some of these kits. On the other hand, I kind of think you listen to these and think, wow, I want to play with this software, I want to make it sound good myself. I'm not sure which way you sit on that. But anyway, let's take a listen to some of these kits because that's the main thing I want to do here. I've got my favorite kits on here. One of them is this one, the Oxide Kit. Let's take just an initial listen to that. So there you go. I mean, that, to me, it just reminds me of Purity Ring. I don't know if you know the band Purity Ring, but it's just a great electronic sound. And that is one of the patterns for the Oxide Kit. If we have a look here, we can see there are 5 patterns and they're allocated to these buttons here. And you can change through those patterns by pressing the pattern button here. So you just hold down pattern and you see you've got the 5 patterns allocated there, and you can switch between them just by doing that. So if we're playing through, you can make a change at the end of this bar and move to the next pattern. And a lot of the time with these kits, the patterns actually make up kind of phrases of a song, I suppose. So that might be an introduction, and then it might have pattern 2 might be a verse or chorus, or you might get a middle 8 section in there as well. They're not quite as strict as that, and they're not always like that, but they certainly give you sort of like softer parts to a song, and it gives you certainly something to think about and work with. So let's take a listen to how a few of the patterns sound with the Oxide Kit. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into here, into group, and I'm going to take off the maximizer because I'm actually running the audio through a small processor anyway, through a hardware processor, and I don't want to use a maximizer, which is sort of it's probably a little bit of a crude processor actually. It sort of makes it sound quite nice and quite grungy, but not something. I don't want to double process my audio, if you know what I mean, because it sounds a bit dodgy. So we'll take that off, and I'm also going to replace this kick, because on the Oxide kit, yes, on the Oxide Kit, I'm not a big fan of that kick. So I'm going to swap that out for a more trancey sounding kit. So of course, with all your packs, you get all the sounds that come with those as well. So, you know, you can load those up separately and list just every single sample that comes with those expansion packs. So I've just put the kick I want into a favorite here. I just like that clean, punchy kick. So I'm going to just drag that across, drop it onto sound 1 and replace sound 1 in the Oxide kit. So how does that sound? So I'll just stop it there. And what I'm going to do now is just going to run through some audio here. I'm just going to play around with it as I'm running through. I'm going to enable a couple of extra patterns so you can hear how it sounds. And I'm going to sort of just mute a few things on the hardware. So let's just see how that goes. Right, so there you go. I just have to get the idea of the kind of thing we're talking about here. All I'm doing is holding down the mute, and I'm just found a nice technique to just be able to just do that and mute all these four sounds. So you've got your bass and the snare there, which obviously when you mute those sounds quite kind of key, doesn't it? It sounds quite like a big change to the music. So. And of course, when you want them all back on again, you can just press mute, hold down mute, and you press this function button here, which puts them all on. So you can just jump straight from having sort of however many muted you want to having them all back on again. So that's the Oxide Kit. I've just shown you a couple of patterns there on the Oxide Kit. My other favourite kit on this is actually the one down from that, which is the Pure Kit. I'm going to just switch to that now. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. I'm going to turn off the maximizer and I'm going to replace the kick from that slightly dull sounding kick to the sweet, trancey type kick. I think that did that, didn't it? Oh, it's replaced. Hang on a second. I'm going to have to do an undo there. So we can do shift and undo. Did it replace it? Did it replace the audio? I think it might have done actually. So anyway, I'll just put that in, drag that in on there, and let's have a listen. They just sound brilliant, don't they? Really complete. I mean, that could be a song in its own right. The person who's produced these, I'm not sure who it is. There's a couple of people involved at Native Instruments that put these kind of expansion packs together. And I just sort of think that could be a song in its own right. They just sound brilliant. But going back to what I was saying before, the downside, of course, is that you hear that and you just think, oh, God, well, nothing I produce is ever going to sound as good as that. So what I tend to do a lot of the time is when I get these kits, when I go to them for the first time, is not listen to the preset patterns. I'll maybe just go into one. The other good thing with Crystal Daggers is you've got some Foley stuff in it and some general effects. Anyway, well, that's off the point. So I'll just go into one of these kits maybe, Rosso kits. I've got some chords in it. Yeah, it's got some chords on 8 and 9. So just have a listen to those chords initially and get a feel for how something that I would want would fit, you know, if you get what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So you're just sort of starting to tap something out yourself rather than relying on the pattern, which probably sounds something totally different and something really good. It's actually meant to be a lot faster. You can see here that's meant to be up at 180 BPM. So maybe not quite my kind of music, but, you know, as I say, everyone each to their own. Which one can we try? Ultra? Bump up the speed a bit. Let's do that on here. Press main. Actually, probably stop that. You probably can't hear me. Press main. F3. Let's bump up the tempo just a bit to the 145 it suggests and see how that sounds. If you took some of the bulk out of that, so that bit, you could probably just put some vocal to that very simply. And so let's just take those out. So, hold on. What's just such a gorgeous, really good rhythm. I mean, it really gets you sort of wanting to do stuff, and it just sounds fantastic. So anyway, that's just a quick look at the Crystal Daggers expansion pack from Native Instruments, and just working with the Maschine Mikro MkII actually here. So people have commented and asked in the past how this display is inverted. So how come I've got a black background here and kind of white on top? Well, I think this was one of the changes they made to their LCD displays in the when they changed from the Maschine 1, or just the Maschine, to the Maschine Mark II, and I'm guessing they changed their supplier or the code or whatever that does it, or just can you just flip the bit of plastic around in the back or something like that to get them to invert themselves. Anyway, yeah, so hope you enjoyed that, and I will leave you with some more of the Ultra Kit. Catch you soon.